is coming. Where's our boyfriend? We are sitting at home. Lonely. That's why Valentine is coming. Where's our boyfriend? We are sitting at home. Lonely.
Hey guys, welcome and welcome back to my channel. Today we've got a bit of a Valentine's Day special. I thought it would be interesting to do assumptions about dating in medical school and also just dating in university in general, because you know, as soon as February hits, everyone's thinking Valentine is coming, you know, where's a boyfriend, all that kind of stuff. So I got my friends, I guess, on Instagram to ask me answer, or I guess give their assumptions about dating, and I'm gonna just go through them and kind of address them and say what I think. So without further ado, let's get into the video. The first one says it's a real gamble. Dating in general is a gamble because you could really date someone and 2 seconds later you're just like, nah, this ain't it, chief. Like this not gonna work. I think anything you do in life is a gamble. Whether or not you decide to date or don't decide to date, it just kind of depends on your comfort zone and what you're willing to take and how much of a risk you're willing to take with what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, you know, if it goes wrong, anyways, moving forward. Next assumption is that it's very hard. I think dating in uni is hard. I think a lot of people come out of sixth form thinking that dating is gonna get easier at uni because you get to see them more often. You're gonna get to like do your little sleepovers and whatnot. A lot of people struggle with temptation, struggle with lust, all that kind of stuff. Being around people is so accessible. So because it's so accessible, you know, it's hard to trust, it's hard to date, it's just hard to kind of feel comfortable in that surrounding. So yeah, I would agree with that. I think that it is hard. The next one is the next one is no one wants to date me. It's a bit of a sticky one still. Like it's I can neither confirm nor deny this statement. It's hard in this social media age to feel desirable if you don't fit into a certain standard of beauty or whatever, but I'm not gonna lie and say that there's someone for everyone, because I don't think that there actually is. I think that some people are called to singleness, and that's okay, but you have to be open to finding people. And I know that the person that asked this or said this isn't open to finding people. Hate to put her on blast, but you know. This next person said, I feel like it's rare to find people who are serious in uni, which is surprising as a lot of my friends are in relationships. Yeah, a lot of people get into relationships in uni. Like, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's expected, but it's something that comes with the territory because you're meeting all these new people, and if you find somebody that you click with, you guys will end up getting involved with each other, and it all usually escalates quite quickly. The seriousness of the relationship is actually quite dependent on the people that enter the relationship in the first place. You can't expect seriousness from everybody because that's not necessarily their personality. Some people have commitment issues, some people just don't want to do it, some people want to, you know, live their life, be hot girls, be players, be F-boys, be whatever they want to be. But I think the most important thing that you have to understand about people in uni is that everyone is growing, they're changing. This is the time between when you're 18 and 21, you change a lot, but when between 21 and 25, you also change a lot. So the person that you dated when you got into uni, you might not like them, or they might change into a person you don't want to date by the time you graduate. So, and that's okay. Like, it's actually okay. Like, not every relationship is supposed to be the duration of your life, as much as we try and make it seem like that. It's a solid assumption. I think that's not an assumption, that's just true. The next assumption is that it's hard. I study physio. Sometimes you have no time, but it's all about communication. Communication is the key to successful relationships. Also, I've heard. Never been in one of those. Depending on what course you study, you will have more contact hours or less contact hours. Especially applying this to medical school, I would say that it's difficult to find time because you feel like you're so overwhelmed with what you're doing. You feel like, oh my goodness, wow, I'm doing so much, and how am I going to fit another person into it? But time management and communication would be your best friends, because, you know, if you want a person, you're more likely to make time. If you don't really like them like that, you're better off not wasting their time rather than stringing them along and saying, oh, I was busy, oh, I was doing this, oh, I was doing that. You may as well just kind of be like, yeah, no, I don't like you still. The next assumption is that you will end up behind quicker than you can count to 10. This is where the time management definitely comes in, because when you like someone, you want to talk to them all the time. You want to be with them all the time. When you're not with them, you start thinking about them. And it's very embarrassing, to be quite honest with you, because you need to get your head straight. But like, I would definitely say you can get behind, and that's not an assumption, that's just true. But, you know, you better manage your time, better communicate it. If you're busy, you better tell them that you're busy, you know. You gotta say it with your chest. This assumption came up about 2 or 3 times, like it came up a lot. Uni men are expecting you to off-pan. Sex is an expectation. And again, like I was saying earlier, a lot of people struggle with lust, which is why it's hard for people to be serious. There's so much, like, a lot of people, this is the most amount of girls or guys they've ever been around, and you're with them late nights. Depending on what uni you go to, you're with them late nights. The accoms are there, the rooms are there, the mood lights, the dimmers, everything is there. So there's a lot of expectation for people to have sex, and a lot of people are having sex, and to each their own. I mean, I ain't here to tell anybody what they should do, you know. I know what I don't want to do, but I know that a lot of people do whatever they do. I think the main thing is being honest from the beginning, and a lot of guys don't do that. They will make it seem as though they like you, and the real tea is that they're really just trying to get up in your cookie jar, or whatever the ladies are calling it. I don't know about all that, honestly. There's a lot of guys that won't expect you to have sex though. Like, there's a lot of guys that it doesn't really matter to them if they have sex. Actually, this is a conversation for another day, but that's not an assumption. There's a lot of expectation for girls to have sex and off pan and do the nasty. Another one that came up like 3, 4, 5 times is that most people find their husbands in uni. A lot of people like enter the relationships that they're going to be in for the rest of their lives in uni, and I did touch on that a bit earlier, but I'm not gonna lie, you might find your husband, and it's happened to plenty of people. They found the person they want to be with for the rest of their life, and that's great for them, but there is no expectation to find your person. Like, you're not gonna find the one at your uni. I'm not saying that you won't, but there's no expectation that you have to. You change so much after you graduate because you have to enter the real world. You're gonna meet so many more people in the workplace, and even just on the road, or like different experiences. So I feel as though like there shouldn't be too much of an expectation to, you know, find your husband or find your wife. A lot of people want to find their wife or their husband at uni, but whether or not it happens, you have to be okay with it. But you shouldn't also close yourself off to it. You know, it might happen, it might not. But it's definitely an assumption. Well, as soon as you get your A-level grades, you start going to uni, they're just like, when will you marry?
Will you marry? When will you marry? Will it be this year or next year? Will you be single forever? Jesus, when will you marry? When will you marry Jehovah?
That's none of my business, innit? That's you don't do that. It's not me. Anyways, move forward. For a couple that are like pretty medicine specific, that people in medical school only want to marry other people in medical school. That's not the case. Like, the people that I know that are studying medicine, they're not dating people on their course. And I know a lot of people that are studying medicine that do actually have a desire to date people that are doctors, because they want to have that in common, and it's something that's so integral to their life, so they want to like be able to bond with their partner over it. It genuinely just depends on personal preference. I think that there shouldn't be an expectation that doctors should only date other doctors, or medical students should only date other medical students, because in the real world that's not really what happens. But with that being said, you know, some people like it, and so genuinely every one of these is gonna have the end every one of these is gonna have the end conclusion that it's all down to personal preference. This one is, men are still trash. Just because they do medicine doesn't change anything. Anyways, moving forward. Do you even have time for dating? Not gonna lie. Yeah, you have time. I mean, you make time. I think one of the biggest stereotypes that you face when you're getting to medical school is that you don't have time for anything other than your degree, and that your degree kind of determines what your personality is. But that's actually really not the case. You have time to grow and pursue interests and pursue hobbies. You can start a YouTube channel, you can start a business, you can start a clothing line, you can do whatever you want alongside medicine. And a lot of people have broken those stereotypes and actually gone on to do amazing things. And dating shouldn't be something that we think is so far away from us. It's something that's ingrained in our life. We want to form relationships with people. We want to love. Like, loving is something that's so innate to most human beings. So it's not something that you won't have time for. It just might be a bit more difficult, because for other people on other courses, they're not going to have as much contact time, and when they graduate and you're still in uni, there'll be a lot of understanding that has to come along with it. But you have time. If you want to make time, you have time. Dating equals the ghetto. I mean, yeah, I agree. I feel like for me, dating has been so ghetto. Like, men, ew, scary. Every bad experience leads you to something greater, in my opinion. I feel like our bad experiences allow us to know what we like and what we dislike. And if I hadn't had the bad experiences I've had dating, I wouldn't know what I like, and I wouldn't know how to discern whether someone likes me or whether they're just trying to use me. Dating can be the ghetto, but that's okay. This one says, it's hard to find a good genuine man because most just want to play around. I think I've touched on that, because again, but what defines a genuine man? I don't know what the answer to that is. I don't know what a genuine man is. Genuine to you, genuine in general. It's very difficult because people need to define their criteria. What women like don't do, and including me, I never used to do this. We don't like determine what we want in a guy. We just take whoever comes to us, and that's the problem. When you can communicate what you want and set your standards quite high, well, not even, I mean, high is relative, but if you set your standards and stick to them, then you won't have trouble attracting a genuine man, because you will sort through anything else very quickly. Another one that is quite interesting that I see is that there are no black boys like me in medical school. Now, I don't know about y'all, but me, I love a good black man. It's true. And a lot of, especially black women in medicine, they feel like they're not going to be able to find a black doctor. For those people that I was speaking about earlier that do want to marry someone within their field, or do want to date people that have an understanding of what they're going through, that they'll be able to bounce ideas off, study tips and all that kind of other stuff. There is black men in medical school. I wouldn't say that there's none. I would say that there's definitely a racial disparity. We cannot neglect that, but I wouldn't say there's none. No, there's not none. There is some. You will find them if they're meant to be found. You'll find them if they're meant to be found. Another good one is, if I date someone in uni, everyone would know, and I like private relationships. That's a fair point, but it just depends on how private you are with everything else. I have a few friends rather that have boyfriends, but you wouldn't know that they had a boyfriend if you weren't close to them. And the same for boys. I know a few boys that would actually be in relationships, but unless you're close to them, you don't know they're in a relationship. If you're dating someone that goes to your uni, it becomes a bit more difficult because you're more likely to be around the same people, and then a friend of a friend says something to a friend, and then now everyone knows you're dating. But in terms of being able to keep privacy, you can definitely do that, especially in this pandemonium. You can date whoever you please in this pandemonium. No one's going to be able to check you about it. No one's going to be able to see your little energy at the party or the motive and be like, these two are looking a bit close today, you know. Nah, there's not much for you to see. So that's an assumption that I get. I understand where it's coming from, but it just depends on how private you are as a person. If you don't struggle to keep things private regularly, it shouldn't be a big issue, because most things are online and we're not really up in each other's space anymore anyways. Okay. Another one is medical school. There's no time for it. Relationships don't last as long. Now, longevity of relationships is a good topic, not just for medical school, but for everyone. It's hard to keep a long-lasting relationship in uni because, again, like I've said, you're changing. Every year brings a new challenge, and every time you're challenged, you might change or alter. You have to adapt to change, and in those changes you might develop personality traits that might not be bad, but they might not be what the partner initially fell in love with, and that's okay. It's okay, it's not the end of the world, but you have to be willing to communicate these things and make a decision as to whether you want to continue the relationship or if you want to just, you know, like peace out, like deuces. I don't think, from my experience, a lot of the people I know that are dating people, they've been dating for a while. And then there's also the little relationships that last a few months, 3-6 months, but those I kind of think of them as like hookups, because you guys are, well, hooking up, and then it gets really hot and heavy quickly, and then everything kind of withers out after a while. And whatever you're comfortable with, you can engage with, but for me, I don't feel comfortable hooking up with anybody, because I know how I am, and I know how my attachment styles are, and I just know that it's not going to benefit me in any way, shape or form. And women just need to be okay with accepting that. We don't have to, you know, go with what the guys say all the time. And the last one would be, you can't date just anyone. They have to stimulate you intellectually. Ah, wow, that's a good one. That's not an assumption, that's true. I feel like you shouldn't be dating anybody that doesn't stimulate your mind, you know. You gotta be able to have a conversation with them. It's not every day just look into each other's eyes for a while, off pant, and then leave and repeat. Sometimes talk about the sky. Sometimes talk about astronomy. Sometimes talk about Pythagoras theorem. Sometimes talk about your day. Just talk about something. They should be able to hold a conversation. Otherwise, I don't know why you'd be dating them in the first place. All these assumptions, you know, I think it's quite interesting that people think these things and we all have these shared views about dating. But the main thing is that you should date who you feel comfortable dating. You should talk to who you feel comfortable talking to. You shouldn't feel any pressure just because Valentine's is coming, or even when your parents start chirping the little, oh, are you dating anybody? Especially African parents, they just start to drop the little hints, like, okay, it's time, you're about to graduate, come on, you know. But you shouldn't feel pressured by those things, because ultimately dating is a very personal thing. It takes a lot of communication, it takes a lot of effort on both sides, and it's up to you whether you want to embark on that. So this Valentine's Day, even if you're by yourself, or even if your person is nowhere near you, you should make sure that you love yourself, love your family, love your friends. Show them and tell them that you love them, especially in this parallelogram. You better tell them, you better show them, send them flowers, send them a heartfelt message. Just spread positive vibes and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? But I hope you enjoyed this. I would love to do another video like it. I like these kinds of answering assumptions, answering questions. But that's all from me now. Bye.